Welcome back, friends. In part 3 of this video, we're going to be constructing our crochet capes. So we no longer need our hook. We will need our tapestry needle and scissors, and then obviously our button and our needle and thread, but not just yet. So first, let's do all of the folding for our case. So you should have your project on the table with the button loop at the top, and the shorter tail, like your slip knot, in the bottom right, and then the yarn where you ended your work at the top left. Okay, so you're going to take the bottom and you're going to fold it up so that you have 1.5 inches from the top. Fold it up 1.5 inches from the top. Okay, now you're going to take the top and you're going to fold it overlapping the bottom. So fold over that last 1.5 inches that was left. Okay, so basically, if this were all sewn together, the button would be here, and then we'd open it up to get inside the case in the center there. Okay, if you want to use clips or pins or something like that to hold this together, keep its shape while you sew it, awesome. I'm just going to start sewing it together. So you need your tapestry needle, and let's thread the longer tail. Like this was the yarn that was just coming from my skein that I cut at the very end. Go ahead and thread that onto your tapestry needle. And we're going to do a running stitch down this side and then back up this side, so that basically we are closing off this opening here. And a running stitch is just up, down, taking little steps along your work. But notice that we're not at the tippy top and we're not at the bottom. We're like 1/3 of the way down. That's okay, because we're going to go down and we're going to go back up. Okay, so I am at the very top. I am on top of all 3 layers here. 1, 2, 3. Let me make sure I'm in camera. Okay, here we go. Sorry. I'm on top of all 3 layers. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to send my hook, my needle, down through the last 2 layers, making sure to catch each layer. Pull the yarn all the way through until you can't pull it anymore. All right. And now we're going to keep going down. So we'll take a little step to the left, and I'm going to go back up. So I'm catching the bottom layer, and now it's the middle layer, but now it's the top layer because I'm not catching the fold anymore. That's okay. So send your yarn up, and now we're going to take a little step again, and we're going to go back down, just catching 2 layers. When you're trying to catch 3 layers, it's a little bit tricky. You really got to make sure you're getting all 3 layers. So just continue your running stitch all the way down, taking little steps, going up, down, up, down. I'm almost at the bottom. And I like to just go like to the very, very end. Cool. And now I'm going to go back up to the top. Exactly the same thing. You're welcome to do like a whip stitch or a blanket stitch on this if you want to get like a little fancy. That would be really pretty, a blanket stitch in like contrasting yarn. Totally. But for the sake of this project, we're just going to use the running stitch in the same color yarn. So here I am back where I started, and now I've got to make sure I'm going through 3 layers. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go up, caught 1, caught 2, and then here's where I need to make sure I'm catching this top layer here. Awesome. All right, so keep going up. Caught 1, caught 2, caught 3. Going back, 1, 2 in the middle, easy to miss, 3. Let's do a couple more times. Okay. And then last one, let's make sure we're catching that middle. Good, okay. All right, so now we want to weave in this remaining yarn. And to do that, you know, there's really no right or wrong for a project like this where there's a lot of bulk on the side. You could just kind of pass your yarn through and around various loops of yarn, just sort of secure it, oops, weave it in so that it's hidden. That's usually the goal when you're weaving in an end, so that it's hidden and secure. So sometimes with this kind of stuff, I just like go right back all the way to the end. Like my needle just went right through my running stitch there. So pull your yarn that you're weaving in, and then sometimes I give a little tug so that it moves just a bit. That's pretty comfortable. It feels secure to me, so I can snip that yarn. Okay, now for the other side, if you left a long tail, then you can use that to sew this side together. But because I said you didn't have to, what we can do is weave this end in, and then I'll show you how to cut yarn and then use a string of yarn to weave in your ends. So here's another way I like to weave in an end. For the slip knot, like the tail at the very beginning, I'm just wrapping around my chains from the very, very beginning. Just gonna wrap around a couple of times, not a couple of times, that is a few times, and pull your yarn through. And it feels very secure. Like that yarn is not easily moving through all of those loops. Where's my end? There it is. So that's totally secure and pretty well hidden. So I can cut my yarn really close there. All right, now from your skein, let's cut some yarn, 10 to 15 inches, let's say. All right. Thread that onto your tapestry needle. And then from here, we can, I'm going to say, let's start at the top. Start at the top of our project because that's the trickiest part where you have to get 3 layers. So you can send your hook from the top or the bottom, whichever, front or back, whatever. But send it up until you have a little bit of a tail at the end. And then let's do a running stitch down this side. Now I'm going to skip ahead in the video. You go ahead and do a running stitch all the way to the bottom. So once we get to the bottom, we're going to do a running stitch back up to the top. And I'm going to skip ahead in the video. So let's all finish doing a running stitch down and then back up to the top on this side of our case. Okay. So here we are back where we started. You can remove your tapestry needle. And what I would do here is take my 2 ends and tie them in a knot. You don't need to do a double knot because we're going to weave these ends in, but tie them in a knot. And then I would weave these ends in separately. So because otherwise it's going to be a little too bulky if you have 2 ends weaving in the same spot. So I would take one end and maybe go across the top. So this is where you can use that cool trick where you send your tapestry needle just loop-de-looping around your stitches. It's pretty fun to do it. It's very satisfying. Pull through, and this is actually short enough. I might have to do a little trim. Yeah, I might have to trim it there, but I'll see when I do the other end. So let's weave this one in. We can do this the same way we wove in the tail from the other side, which was basically just like sending it down through and like passing your hook like around and through various loops of yarn on the side of your project. There's just like so much bulk over here and so much yarn that it's really gonna hold this tail in. It's gonna be secure. Okay, so push that, pull it through. Yeah, I can feel that it's very secure. Pull it until you can't anymore. Awesome. Okay, and then we can clip this end. Whoops, clip it over here. And then let me just check on this one up here. Oh, it's a little bit there. Okay, I'm gonna clip that one more time there. Okay, so the last step of this project is to attach the buttonhole. If you decided not to do a buttonhole and you just have a straight edge, then congratulations, you're done. Otherwise, you're going to need your needle and thread, your button, and then scissors, of course. And then I like to use my tapestry needle for a special trick. Okay, so I already have thread on my needle, but go ahead and get thread on your needle, and you don't need to tie a knot at the very end. I'll show you why. So to figure out where your button needs to be placed, I like to pull down on my buttonhole until it's as far as it can go. And where my finger falls is where the button is going to be sewn onto. And that way we know that the button loop will be pulled its absolute tightest when it's closed. So hopefully it doesn't open and things won't fall out. Okay, so remove the loop and pick up your work, and oh, lucky me, where my button is going to be sewn falls right onto a bunch of yarn. If you need to move the button placement a little bit so that you have yarn for your thread to hold on to, please do so. Okay, so take your needle and thread and we're going to just send it through that yarn, the placement where the buttonhole is going to be placed, and pull it through so that you have a short tail. And I am using the same color yarn, so hopefully it's showing up in the video. So pull the yarn through, the thread through until you have a short tail, and then here we're going to tie a double knot. And the reason I like to do this, tie a knot around the yarn, is to make sure my knot does not fall out, because knots usually stay in on fabric, but in yarn, since it's so there's a lot of laciness to it, the hole could fall out. The knot could fall out. Okay, so this thread is really secure. Now we're going to thread it onto our button. I only have 2 holes, so if you have a 4-hole buttonhole, go ahead and just thread 2 holes. And then we're going to send our needle down to the inside of our case. But don't pull all the way just yet. Here is my trick. We're going to, where is it? There it is. We're going to send the tapestry needle. We're just going to place it into the loop created by the thread. It went up through the button and then back down through our work. We're just going to put it into the loop. Okay, and now we can continue pulling our thread. And basically what this is doing is preventing the button from sitting too flat on the project. That way there's a little bit of space here so that our loop can fit snugly around the button. And we'll keep the tapestry needle there until we're totally done. Okay, so now I'm on the inside. My needle, we're almost finished sewing our buttonhole. My needle is on the inside of my project. I'm going to send it back up to the outside, but I'm not going to send it through the button again. Instead, I'm going to pull it all the way. Instead, I'm going to remove that tapestry needle now, and then I'm going to wrap around my button, the thread holding my button 3 or 4 times. Okay, and now using the tail from when we first sewed, when we first attached the thread, I'm going to tie that into a double knot. Everything is just right there waiting for us. Tie it into a double knot so it fits snug against that wrapped thread. Basically, you wrapped the thread around the thread. Okay, so that's real secure. I can cut my thread close to the button, close to that knot that I made. Okay, so let's test it out. Does it close? Yes, it does. And look, the buttonhole loop fits really snug around my button. Awesome. So let's see if it'll fit our crochet hook. All right, yay, good size for a crochet hook case. You can fit a bunch in there. Very cool. All right, that is it for this video. I hope you are happy with your crochet case. Bye friends, happy making.